Simon, thanks for joining me on the Talking Town podcast. Second guest on, and I've been really excited for this one because you are like one of the main people I wanted. So we'll start the same as last time with some quick fire questions. Favourite film?
Saving Private Ryan.
Good choice. Favourite TV show?
I'll have to go with Match of the Day.
Yeah, fair enough. Favourite song or album?
Well, I like George Ezra and Shotgun. That's good. I'll go for that. Shotgun and George Ezra and his albums. And as a kid, I was brought up on Dire Straits, so Love Over Gold, Brothers in Arms, always a favourite.
And dream job as a child?
Football player. I always aspired to be a football player. I aspired to be better than what I turned out to be, but at least I pulled the shirt on for a living for a good few years.
Okay, I might need to change that one because John said the same. He wanted to be a player, so I guess you both lived your dream jobs already. So.
Well, I guess he's done more so than me because he played at the top level. But I thought you were talking about John Maloney.
Oh, John Maloney.
Oh, right, sorry.
Yeah.
Well, John was a very good player, but I mean, I just right from when I was able to walk, just wanted to be a footballer.
And footballing hero?
I'd have to go with one player called Roland Nielsen at Sheffield Wednesday. I was an avid Sheffield Wednesday fan, and Roland Nielsen was a Swedish international right back at the time who just brought so much class, to the football team, and they were a top 3 Premier League team at the time, and he was a wonderful player.
Just on to the main discussion points. So one of the things which I mentioned to you before we started recording was like obviously since promotion to the National League, the profile of the club's gone up, and the profile of you yourself. Like I watched you said it was called the Gaffer.
Yes,
the Gaffer,
yeah.
On BT Sport, and like how weird was that to like have a camera crew following you around when like a few years ago, not that there would have been no interest in Harrogate Town, but I'm sure it's got a lot more intense.
Yeah, it's been a lot more intense, but enjoyable, and it's hopefully a sign and a reflection on the club's progress that there has been a bit more profile about everyone involved. So, yeah, I thought the BT documentary was a good one because the guy who produced it, Ben Lowe, was fantastic and made every manager who was all part of it, the programme, feel very comfortable. Very intense though, 3 days at our house especially. And when I went to meet him in the middle of Harrogate the night before he was actually staying with us, I was just walking into the pub where we were meeting, and I thought, what have I just done? To my family, inviting someone in to stay at our house. So it was a big test, but then straight away I thought this guy's really good, great with the kids, and it just made us all feel very comfortable, and the kids sort of lapped it up and playing with the camera, and it was quite an interesting experience really, and one that I really enjoyed.
Is it something, the extra spotlight, do you enjoy it, or is it like a burden to you?
No, I don't. It's not a burden because I'm doing something I love for a living at a great club, and we've got some really good characters in around me. So it's a collective effort, and not that you want to show off at all, but you want to share with the supporters and with the people who you're close with at the club, and I've got family heavily involved as well. So I think it's a responsibility that you have to maintain and be proud of.
How does it feel to be one of the longest serving managers in the top 5 divisions of English football?
Yeah, it makes me feel when you say it a little bit older. Because I remember getting the job and looking back at the photos even 5 years ago, I've aged a lot. So a decade, I certainly have. Maybe I looked too young at the time at 31 to be a manager, but a few more grey hairs in the beard now, especially when I grow it, they'll be too long. And it makes me at least feel more experienced than that I've had to go through a few wars with it.
Yeah. And then another interesting point, which I've always wanted to ask a football manager, I'm a Leeds fan, and fans moan about player selection a lot of the time. So for us at the minute, everyone's calling for Bielsa to play certain players. But as a manager, how much more to it is there to the game than just player selection?
Well, the recruitment's massive in the first place. So what you want to do is build a squad where it is open for debate, because it's fine lines between choosing one striker over another.
Yeah.
And so it's good. It's good then if it's not just an 11 that people are talking about. So I think you're along the right lines if there is healthy debate about the choice of team selection. But more to it, yeah. There's a lot more to it because you've got to harness the belief in the players. You've got to tactically work on it. You've got to have people in the backroom staff that are able to feel comfortable enough to carry out their own roles and not be burdened by it at all. And we've got I'm lucky because we've got a really close knit bunch in the backroom staff where we all sit together, we eat together, we socialise together as well, and so we know each other well enough to be able to be frank with each other and give frank views. But I think with players, you're dealing with young people, some of whom have just come out of school age, and you've got to understand that their self-esteem can take confidence levels, motivation. You're talking about adherence to the task of being a footballer, and we're all trapped within a passion, which is what they've been brought up. So a massive psychology element to the game, and then hopefully, you've got to manage upwards as well in terms of the board and expectations and budget and the key performance objectives that were all set from the boardroom level downwards.
And you speak about like preparation. Was it hard last season? Because when I was working for Hal as the media assistant, he'd asked me to write a preview. So I'd look at like the head-to-heads, and for a lot of the time, it was the first time you play in a team. So was it hard to prepare against all these new teams and new sides?
It was. Well, we've got a scouting network headed up by Lee Barraclough, so he's the chief scout. Then we've got Mark Leaney in the northwest. We've got Zach, who's based down south, who Lee quickly got to be quite close with in terms of understanding what he could bring to the table in terms of opposition analysis. And then we've got this ISF platform now where you can see every team that you're coming up against in their previous games and previous seasons' games. So we had to work hard to acquire a little bit of knowledge so that we could move forward into games with a bit of confidence that we knew what they were about.
And how much of time is spent on the psychological aspect of coaching from your point of view?
Well, yeah, I mean, a fair bit, because every individual is different and motivated for different reasons. And you'll have some that have got a bit more, how can we say, a bit more of an edge to them, and they thrive on a bit of distance and not quite knowing if you're happy or not. And there's some that probably need to have their arm around the shoulder a bit more, and it's all to do with psychology. But I think basically we want a motivated group. So with that, you have to try and make them happy, but at the same time, not let them get too relaxed. But hopefully we've recruited well in terms of naturally hungry people. But yeah, I think it's a massive subject.
So the FA Cup draw was the other day. So you'll be welcoming Portsmouth, who actually won it, I think, was it 11 years ago? Yeah. How does that feel to... Because Portsmouth, like, even though they're in League One, I think they might be struggling a bit. It's a big team to be welcoming to Harrogate. And just how did you feel when the draw was made, and how did you feel about the time?
Well, yeah, first of all, I just wanted a home draw.
Yeah.
I wanted to get through with the previous round because I haven't been through nearly enough times since 2012. So to get through and to draw a home game out was first and foremost very pleasing. And then to get Portsmouth, if we were going to pull out a bigger club, it was either Portsmouth or Sunderland that I wanted, and we got Portsmouth at home. So we're just really delighted to pull a club of that size and their history out the bag and bring them to our place. So we can't wait for it.
I'm sure it'll be a really good occasion, especially because Portsmouth have a great following and
amazing following. Yeah. Just to see the names that have played for that club, and also welcome back Craig McGilvery, who was a top player for us, and he's got a Scotland call up. We actually saw him in a hotel in an overnight stop recently, and talking to him and a few of their players were taking the mickey a bit, saying he's got a bit big time because he's got a Scotland call up, but only because they knew they could take the mickey because he's such a good lad.
How far do you think you can take Harrogate Town as a club, and do you think the Football League is an achievable goal?
Well, I think so, but it's going to have to take a collective effort. There's been examples in the recent past of clubs going up to the National League and going up again. but it's taken massive investment, that, and we're at that level where there's quite a few teams, especially throughout the league really. I don't think there's a club that aren't paying any money out. There's considerable amounts though last year, and we were below the mean average in terms of the wage budget for this level last year. I do think we can go up. I think we've got something going here at the club, and it's exciting, and there's good chemistry on and off the pitch. So I think it bodes well for the future. But I think we're going to have to do it with a massive collective effort.
So we've got a few fan questions here, just to finish us off. If you had to name one player who you wish hadn't left the club during your career at Harrogate Town, who would it be?
Well, I remember back in the just touched on obviously the FA Cup, and 2012 was our best run. At the same time, we were in and around the playoffs, and then the transfer window arrived, and I had a couple of phone calls, and I regret picking them up actually, because one of them took York City, took Tom Platt back to York, and he was scoring goals for us at the time, and also Dominic Knowles, who was absolutely on fire for us. That we'd signed, he'd been at Burnley, went to Gainsborough on a non-contract. We signed him, and then they signed him for Burton Albion, and actually didn't register him properly, so he wasn't eligible to play, but they didn't let him come back to us, and so that really hurt me at the time, because he was our number 9 banging them in, and we could have gone up that year, but in the long run maybe it was better we didn't. But try telling that to me at the time, it was a big loss that we couldn't replace.
And what is your favourite goal scored by a Town player during your time as manager?
Well, I think the 3 goals in the playoff final will go down in history. And the last goal that was put in from the right side by Ryan Fallowfield and put in so well by Joe Leasley, that was probably the first time in the game, even though we played so well, where I thought, this is it. We're going up.
Yeah.
And so to break that ceiling and create history as a team made that goal just such a wonderful feeling, the ball entering the net. So it led to great celebrations.
Okay, thank you. So those questions were from James Ballard, so thanks for sending those in. And then the last question is from Ryan Stevenson. Is the manager concerned that the poor attendance figures this season may mean that the club will struggle to maintain the wage levels for the current setup and make it impossible for them to compete at the next level should they be promoted?
Well, yeah, it's another good question. I think definitely the first 10 games, we could see with the attendance figures that the adults were missing some youngsters and teenagers, and that they weren't as good in terms of the attendance figures, and so it was a massive concern. We had sleepless nights, and it's been a big learning curve for all of us at the club, because we do need the crowd coming in. If we're being sensible about it, Saturday was a really big result, not just on the pitch, but off it, having 1,500 there, nearly double from the previous game in third Fleet, and a big relief. But hopefully they'll keep coming back, because we need them, and that's what I say about it's going to take considerable collective effort to get through. And we always say, without wanting to sound cheesy, the crowd are our 12th man. I don't think we'll probably get the winner in the 92nd minute through Jack Emmett if the crowd aren't so behind us, and with volume and in numbers behind that goal. But financially, obviously, it aids us the more people that come through and have the club at heart. And we've got to find ways. We had a really good meeting last week, trying to get the numbers up and think of ideas to get the numbers up across all the age groups, and give more back to the fans, so that they have a place where they belong. And it's not all about, obviously, in my mind, it's hard for it not to be all about winning or losing, but hopefully we can be more than just that, judged on. We can be seen as a warm, really good, progressive club, so people keep coming back.
It's a frustrating meeting to have, because, like you say, it's not completely all about results, but that is probably a big factor. For the run you've been on recently and the FA Cup draw, and then crowds go up, is it can it be very influenced that easily?
I think we've given ourselves a good chance. You'd like to think of getting some momentum with the crowd, but I also think there's been an exercise of reflection, from the club and how maybe things were communicated in the summer. I think lessons have to be learned, and that's not nailing any individual. We're a collective, and we'd like to think that's maybe history, but let's learn from it and get better as a club. Because you can't always go on 9-10 games unbeaten run. You don't want them ever to come to an end, but that won't be football, because we'll be in the Premier League in 4 years if that's the case, and it's not going to happen. But we can be positive, and we can create an even more positive environment, I'm sure, for the young fan, the teenage fan, and through the different age groups, and hopefully that can be in place, and we can keep getting better at the match day experience, so that people actually, it's a great place for a mother or a father to bring a child. And I think, you can never guarantee a win, but there'll be entertainment and there'll be smiles on people's faces at the gate, at the burger bar, and from the stewards they get given good help, and so there's good music on, and people are enthusiastic and proud to be, as I say, saying goes, proud to be town, and we want them to be proud to be town. So we've got to do more as a club.
Speaking of the music, I've heard a rumour that you influenced the playlist before the year.
I have been known, yeah.
Because last season George Ezra was on there, so that explains your.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. Yeah, well, it's happy music. You just I'm trying to make everyone happy, and not least myself, and relax a few, including myself down. But I'm at that dangerous age of 41 of losing the grasp of good music. So
I'm sure your kids will help out.
It's crazy because even 6-year-old daughter, she will tell me what's cool and what's not, and she's 6, and I think, I'm losing it. Fashion wise, I'm losing it. Music wise, I'm losing it. But hopefully somewhere along the line, football wise, we can benefit from a few years on the clock.
Yeah, thanks for talking to us, Simon.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
Good luck for the season.
Cheers, Isaac. Thank you.